From eye-gouging in front of millions to tackles that sent opponents to the hospital unconscious. From a punch in training that nearly killed a teammate to a player who can't remember a single match he ever played. A special group of players turned the rugby pitch into something closer to a war zone than a sport. They didn't just play the game, they terrorized it. These are the 10 scariest players in rugby history. They called him the chiropractor, not because he healed people, but because every time Lima made a tackle, there was a clicking noise, the sound of bones slipping out of place. Lima's story begins in 1991. At 19, he helped Western Samoa pull off one of the World Cup's greatest upsets, defeating Wales 16-13 in Cardiff. But one tackle stands above all the rest. November 1st, 2003, South Africa versus Samoa. Springbok fly half. Derek Hugard jumps to catch a high pass. Lima explodes into him with perfect timing and devastating force. Hugard crashes to the ground, dazed for several minutes. To this day, that tackle is still shared online as an example of pure, legal, bone-crushing power. At 6'1" and 209 pounds, Lima was smaller than many forwards, but he tackled with fearless, explosive power that made size irrelevant. September 22nd, 2007, his 5th and final World Cup, England versus Samoa. Lima delivers a high tackle on Johnny Wilkinson. He's cited and banned for 3 weeks, ending his international career. But the story gets darker. In December 2013, Lima was charged with assaulting his ex-wife in public. He was convicted on 5 charges in June 2014 and subsequently resigned from his coaching role with the Samoan national team. Brian Lima will always be remembered as one of the hardest hitters in rugby history. His 5 World Cup appearances are a testament to his longevity, but his legacy is complicated by actions that crossed a far more serious line off the pitch. At 21, Schalk Burger was named IRB Player of the Year in 2004. A dynamic flanker with world-class skill who played like he had no regard for his own body. Standing 6'4" and weighing 251 pounds, Burger was a wrecking ball. In 2007, he was a cornerstone of the Springbok pack that won the Rugby World Cup. But that same aggression kept getting him into trouble. September 9th, 2007, World Cup pool stages, cited for a dangerous high tackle on Samoa's Junior Polu. Initially banned for 4 matches, reduced to 2 on appeal, allowing him to return for the knockout stages. Then came June 27th, 2009. The British and Irish Lions are touring South Africa. Second test, opening minute. Burger makes contact with the eye area of Lions winger Luke Fitzgerald during a ruck. Yellow card, then cited. 8-week ban. Lions coach Shaun Edwards called the incident a disgrace. Burger maintained he wasn't a rugby thug. His coach Peter de Villiers defended him, claiming nothing he did was on purpose. But the video didn't lie. And Burger never publicly apologised to Fitzgerald. Yet Dan Carter and Richie McCaw, the greatest players of their generation, all named Burger as the hardest man they ever played against. Then in 2013, Burger faced something tougher than any rugby player. After surgery to remove a cyst near his spinal cord, he contracted life-threatening bacterial meningitis. He lost 30 kilograms. His family was told to say goodbye, but somehow he fought back. By 2015, he was representing South Africa in another World Cup. He won the 2016 Laureus World Sports Award for Comeback of the Year. Schalk Burger's career is rugby's central tension embodied, the line between acceptable aggression and unacceptable violence. He lived on that line, sometimes staying on the right side, and at least once crossing it in the worst possible way. February 11th, 2007, Croke Park, Dublin, Ireland versus France. Before kick-off, cameras catch Ireland captain Paul O'Connell's changing room speech. He says,
"I'm standing back thinking what the fuck is going on here? Not for the first 5 minutes, every fucking minute of the game."
That speech perfectly captures O'Connell, a 6'6" lock who played with an intensity that terrified opponents and even teammates. French number 8 Imanol Harin-Ordokwe said when you try to clear O'Connell from a ruck, he's never beaten. His disciplinary record was relatively clean for a forward of his physicality, except for one moment. December 12th, 2010. O'Connell's comeback match after 8 months out. 11 minutes in, he's sent off for striking Ospreys flanker Jonathan Thomas with a swinging arm. 4-week ban. But that's nothing compared to summer 2007. Ireland is preparing for the World Cup. During a training session, Ulster lock Ryan Caldwell tackles O'Connell in what's supposed to be a non-contact drill. O'Connell snaps, throws a single punch. Caldwell drops unconscious, but it gets worse. Caldwell starts swallowing blood from a cut inside his cheek. He's choking. The team doctor has to resuscitate him on the pitch. Years later, O'Connell called it the worst moment of his career. O'Connell vowed to change his brawling ways after that. He became one of rugby's most respected leaders, captaining the Lions on their 2009 tour to South Africa. O'Connell's career ended at the 2015 World Cup with a torn hamstring. He's remembered as a leader, a warrior, and an inspiration. Also as the man who nearly killed a teammate with a single punch. 60 weeks. That's how much of Dylan Hartley's career he lost to suspension. More than a full year. April 2007. Found guilty of making contact with the eyes of 2 Wasps players, James Haskell and Johnny O'Connor. 26-week ban. Ruled out of the 2007 World Cup. March 2012. Bites Irish flanker Stephen Ferris's finger. 8-week ban. May 25th, 2013. Premiership final. Northampton captain, shown a straight red for verbally abusing referee Wayne Barnes, allegedly calling him a fucking cheat. 11-week ban. May 2015. Headbutt Saracens hooker Jamie George. 4-week ban. Dropped from the 2015 World Cup squad entirely. December 2016. Champions Cup. 6 minutes after coming on as a substitute, sent off for a swinging arm to Sean O'Brien's head. 6 more weeks ban. Career total, 60 weeks. Dylan Hartley was an England captain who led his country to a Grand Slam. But he also spent 60 weeks banned for gouging, biting, headbutting, and abusing a referee. Before Jamie Cudmore ever played professional rugby, he was an enforcer for a drug dealer. He spent a year in youth detention for assault. "I had a bit of trouble growing up," he later admitted. Rugby gave him an outlet to channel that aggression. And boy, did he channel it. Between 2005 and 2011 at Claremont, Cudmore accumulated 21 yellow cards and 3 red cards, plus multiple post-match sightings. December 13th, 2008, Heineken Cup. Munster versus Claremont. Cudmore lands a vicious uppercut on Irish captain Paul O'Connell's jaw. O'Connell retaliates. Both men trade punches on the ground. Straight red card for Cudmore. 5-week ban. October 2010. Stamps on Schalk Burger's face. 10-week ban. January 2011. Just back from that ban, he punches Gregory Lecorvec on the ground. 40 more days. July 2021. Cudmore is fired from Rugby Canada for posting sexist and transphobic tweets mocking the women's team. Jamie Cudmore, troubled kid who found redemption, enforcer who crossed lines, and the man who destroyed his coaching career with offensive tweets. Maybe all of those things. In the brutal theatre of rugby where giants collide and reputations are forged in blood and mud, there exists a rare breed of player. Not just big, not just skilled, but terrifying. His name is Eben Etzebeth. And if you've ever lined up opposite him, you already know. 6'8", 275 pounds of pure South African granite. September 3rd, 2022, Sydney, Australia. All hell breaks loose after a try, and there's Eben Etzebeth, emerging from the chaos like a man possessed. In both hands, he's got Wallabies prop Alan Alaalatoa, lifts him. A moment of pure, primal dominance. June 23rd, 2018, England. After a penalty, scrum half Ben Youngs gets involved. Etzebeth storms in, shoves him hard to the ground. Eben Etzebeth fears no one. September 30th, 2017, South Africa versus Australia. Israel Folau grabs Dylan Lades by the hair. Captain Etzebeth sees red, charges in like a man possessed. Pins Folau down. Touch his teammates? Face the consequences. Nobody messes with Eben Etzebeth. He's not just a player, he's a force of nature, a living wall of muscle, fire and fury. The kind of man who leaves a mark on the field, in the hearts of teammates and in the nightmares of anyone who dares cross him. February 15th, 2003, Lansdowne Road, Dublin, Six Nations Grand Slam decider. Both teams line up for anthems. England, led by captain Martin Johnson, is positioned on the wrong side of the red carpet. An official asks Johnson to move. President of Ireland, Mary McAleese, has to walk on the grass instead of the red carpet. Irish fans still call Johnson a cunt for that moment. Was it disrespect or psychological warfare? Either way, England won 42-6 and completed the Grand Slam. Because that's who Martin Johnson was. He didn't take a step back for anyone. At 6'7", nicknamed Ferengi by teammates, Johnson was imposing. But his disciplinary record tells a darker story. February 1999. Stamped on Scottish centre John Leslie's throat. Yellow card. February 2002. Punched Robbie Russell, leaving him needing 6 stitches. 3-week ban, May 2001. Sin-binned for punching in the Heineken Cup final. Australian coach Rod McQueen said he was an intimidating character but probably took that too far. But Johnson's teammates loved him. They knew if trouble started, he'd be the first there to back them up. November 22nd, 2003. World Cup final in Sydney. Score tied near the end of extra time. Seconds left. Johnson takes a crucial line out, wins it clean. Makes a powerful carry that sets the platform for Johnny Wilkinson's winning drop goal. England are world champions. Martin Johnson lifts the Webb Ellis Cup. Great leader or thug? Depends who you ask. But nobody forgot Martin Johnson. Bleached blonde hair you could spot from anywhere. A warning beacon. If you saw Jerry Collins coming, you had 2 choices. Brace yourself or get out of the way. Nicknamed the Terminator, Collins's tackles were devastating. But unlike many on this list, they were almost always legal. June 21st, 2003, New Zealand versus Wales in Hamilton. Welsh captain Colin Jarvis has the ball. Collins arrives. The collision knocks Jarvis completely unconscious. He suffers whiplash and is stretchered off. Legal tackle, but so violent it became one of Collins's defining moments. June 2nd, 2007, New Zealand versus France. Earlier, Sébastien Chabal had knocked out Chris Masseau. Collins decided it was payback time. When Chabal received a pass, Collins lined him up and flattened him. Statement made. But off the field, Collins was completely different. Everyone said he was one of the nicest guys in rugby. Then June 5th, 2015, tragedy struck. Collins was driving in southern France with his partner Alana Medill and their 3-month-old daughter Ayla. A bus struck their car. Collins and Medill were killed instantly. But Collins's last act was to shield his daughter from the impact. Baby Ayla survived. The rugby world was devastated. Tributes poured in globally. Sam Warburton called him an inspiration to many, including myself. Jerry Collins only earned 48 caps for New Zealand, but his presence was so huge he's remembered as a legend. The Terminator, the gentle giant, the hero who saved his daughter's life. If you looked up enforcer in a rugby dictionary, you'd find Bakkies Botha, 6'7", 273 pounds. But it wasn't just size, it was attitude. Botha admitted, "It's true, on the field I like to see fear in the eyes of my opponents." His disciplinary record is one of the longest in modern rugby. June 27th, 2009. Dangerous charge dislocates Adam Jones's shoulder, ending his Lions tour. 2-week ban. Controversy. Jones himself defends Botha, saying it was just a fair ruck. Botha's teammates wear Justice For armbands in protest. The South African Rugby Union was fined for bringing the game into disrepute. May 2010. First match as Bulls captain. Dangerous clear-out on Gio Aplon. 4-week ban, misses entire playoffs. July 10th, 2010. First minute of a test match. Botha headbutts Jimmy Cowan. 9-week ban. Misses entire Tri-Nations. Years later, asked about it, Botha says, "I would react in exactly the same way today." It's still the fault of the number. No remorse, no apology. Yet his coaches loved him. Bernard Laporte called him the greatest player I ever coached. John Smith said, "Only Bakkies can explain what goes on in his head." Off the field, gentle giant, family man. Became a butcher after retirement. Bakkies Botha, enforcer or thug, legend or villain? Maybe both. He was a 2007 World Cup winner whose physicality was an asset, but whose lack of discipline was a constant liability. He looked like he'd walked straight out of a cave. Long wild hair, full beard, a scowl that could curdle milk. Sébastien Chabal became l'homme des cavernes, the caveman, and Chabalmania swept the globe. Standing 6'3" and 249 pounds, when Chabal hit someone, you heard it. June 2nd, 2007, New Zealand versus France. All black Chris Masseau running hard. Chabal delivers a perfectly legal tackle with devastating force. The tackle is replayed endlessly. Chabalmania launches globally. 1 week later, Chabal meets Ali Williams head-on. Williams's jaw is broken in several places. He needs surgery the next day. 2 weeks, 2 All Blacks destroyed. But not everyone was impressed. People wanted him to be great because of the image. Then came darker incidents. December 14th, 2013. Punches Marc Giraud, knocks him unconscious. 3-week suspension, and then in 2022. The most shocking revelation. Chabal revealed in his autobiography that he has amnesia. He cannot remember a single second of a rugby match he played. He doesn't remember the birth of his daughter. He attributes it to repeated head trauma. I have the impression that it wasn't me who played rugby. The revelation is devastating. Media coverage shifts. The warrior celebrated for physicality becomes a cautionary tale. Sébastien Chabal is number one because his story is the starkest reminder of what rugby can take from those who play it. The caveman who lost his memory. A marketing machine built on primal fear. Now a cautionary tale about the human cost of the sport. His career was built on unforgettable moments. Now he's forgotten them all. From the enforcer who stamped and bit his way through a career to the caveman who can't remember playing. From the teenager who was a drug dealer's muscle to the captain who refused to move for a president. From the warrior who saved his daughter to the player banned 60 weeks who still made captain. These 10 players redefined what it means to be scary in rugby. Some through legal, overwhelming physicality. Others crossed lines that should never be crossed. Martin Johnson was a World Cup winner who stamped on throats. Paul O'Connell was one of rugby's most beloved captains. Sébastien Chabal was a global icon whose brain can no longer remember the moments that made him famous. These contradictions define their legacies. These 10 men lived on that line. They pushed it. They crossed it. Some became legends. Some became villains. Most became both. But all of them were, without question, the scariest players rugby has ever seen. These were the 10 scariest players in rugby history.